Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax, and today we're getting controversial. Well, probably not, but we're talking about faith and insecurity. And recently, I have realized that they are basically the same thing. Um, First of all, I want to preface this by saying if you are of a Judeo-Christian background or you strongly believe in the ideas of Christianity, Judaism, whatever you want to assign it. If you are Catholic, whatever, try not to get too insecure in this video. I was raised and taught in the Methodist Church. I, define myself as a Catholic, not as a Catholic, as a Christian. I didn't grow up Catholic. I went to Catholic school, but so I identify with a lot of the teachings. I hold a lot of beliefs in that sort of sphere. But as many of you know, I embrace a lot of philosophy, tradition, folk tradition, a lot of stuff like that as well. I incorporate a lot more than just the Bible into how I live my life and the morals that I bring with me. So don't get too mad. But basically what I'm talking about today is that your strong faith in anything, whatever it is, can come from a real insecurity that you're scared it's not real and you're scared it's not true. And I've been talking the last few days about Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance, and I will be doing like a holistic review of the book soon. I'm not quite finished yet. I'm really taking my time with it because I'm really enjoying it. But at one point, the author talks about how faith is really and like zealous, like being zealous, being like religiously convicted to whatever belief you might have stems from an insecurity in that belief not being real. And it was kind of like a watershed moment for me because it just put into context so many of the political debates that we have in the world today. So much of the insecurity and the anger you see on different political divides, and how a huge amount of that anger, that vitriol, that religious zeal for an idea, dogma, whatever you want to call it, is really based in insecurity and people being really worried about their belief not being real, or they have faith that God is real, whatever is whatever, and it actually stems from this sort of insecurity that it's not real. And obviously this is one approach to this idea, and many religious people or people on a specific political divide will rally against this and get really defensive and argumentative. But in simple essence, there is some truth to this, and there is some clarity to be found in this whole idea of faith and insecurity being sort of tied together, especially when you get to this zealous component of belief and, believing something for the sake of it and saying, you can't say that, the Bible says this, or, I'm using Christianity as the de facto example because I was raised a Christian, I hold Christian beliefs, and I'm allowed to talk about them. I'm allowed to dissect them. I grew up in a Protestant type of family, and so the idea of questioning the Bible and questioning these things is totally valid in my religious tradition. So come at me if you want to come at me, but if you just want to ignore. And so at one point in the book, the main character or the author, it's kind of hard to tell whether it's autobiographical or not, but the main character basically talks about how having a conviction, like a really strong belief in science, in whatever belief system you want to talk about, really stems from having an insecurity that's not true. And he says that the things in life that nobody debates, nobody's really zealous about. There isn't someone going around in our world in 2024 shouting from the rooftops that gravity isn't real. It's not a contentious topic. Nobody is undermining the validity of gravity or the law of gravity in terms of physics, in terms of the way we live our lives. And because nobody is fervently undermining or trying to disprove gravity, there's no one who's religiously zealot, who's fervently trying to defend the laws of gravity. Nobody takes that seriously. I think it's the same way that many of us don't take the Flat Earth Society seriously, because we all know that the earth is not flat. I mean, I hope that's not a controversial take for you, but we all know and understand from a very young age that the earth is not flat. And so we don't take their fervent, zealot, religious personality as anything to take seriously, because we're like, well, that's a stupid belief. I'm sorry, it is a stupid belief. I try to be open-minded, but no, not there. I will not give you an inch on that one. But because of the sheer fact that the vast majority of people on this planet understand that the earth cannot be flat, that would not work in so many different ways, means that the Flat Earth Society themselves and the people who believe it need to be the most fervent and aggressive holders of this belief, and they have to defend it, and they have to say that no, there's a giant ice wall, and space is fake, and they come up with the most ridiculous things, and they're absolute zealots, and they're unable to see their point of view as ridiculous, but everyone else does. And so we don't take it seriously because we're like, that's stupid. And I'm sorry, it is. And so you get this idea that to have faith in something, you need to really rally against the detractors of that faith. And if you have an insecurity that the belief you hold might not be true, that's when true faith comes in. It's interesting that I've never really understood this one chapter in Taoism, and we'll get to it at some point in my Taoist series, but it talks about when you lose faith, you come to true reason. And I've never quite understood that, because I always thought of faith as something good, faith, having faith in the system, having faith in morality, whatever. I was like, oh, that's good. So why is the Tao teachings telling me that faith, when you're able to drop faith, you lead to true reason? And this was the watershed moment. And I realized, oh my gosh, having faith, having like a religious zealot faith in something, like a really fervent belief, like this is real, and if you don't believe it, get out of my way. That kind of belief stems from insecurity, that your belief is not real and that it's not true. And it makes you worried, it makes you insecure. The idea that every religious person sort of fervently defends heaven and the idea of, seeing their loved ones again. Of course they're going to defend that belief. Of course they're going to protect it at all they can, because the idea that it's not real is really scary to them, and it's really frightening, and it comes from this insecurity. Whereas, if somebody truly believes in God, why should they care what anyone else thinks? Like, if I truly and firmly believe in the Judeo-Christian God, if I firmly hold these beliefs true, and I know that, my sins will be repented, and that, Jesus died for my sins, if I truly believe that, I shouldn't care what anyone else thinks. It doesn't matter. It's not for me to judge. It's for the higher power. It's for the Creator. And yet you have many religious, fervent, zealous people condemning the non-believers, getting super angry, trying to pass legislation, doing all kinds of insecure-based things, trying to get everyone else on the same page. I need you to believe what I believe so that I feel better about it, because I'm insecure about it. And that was just like a real big moment for me, reading this chapter today and yesterday, going over it, because you don't initially think of that. You think of faith as this very pure, very positive, optimistic kind of thing. I have faith in the system, blah, 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 blah. But a true faith is unspoken. A true faith is, I know it in my head, you're not going to convince me. If flat earthers truly believed in their religious dogma, in their garbage, they wouldn't care if anyone else believed it or not. It wouldn't matter. They would know that their convictions were correct, and they would truly never need to say another word. They might go on trying to proselytize and convert, but the way they behave is insecure, and it's fervent, zealous belief. And that's not really good. That whole idea of having that really aggressive faith, it does stem from insecurity. And you can see it on the left, you can see it on the right, you can see it politically, economically. No matter where you look, that idea that a zealous faith in something stems from insecurity, that's really powerful. And I think the final note I want to touch on is, how does this all matter to you? Like, why does this connection between faith and insecurity affect you in your life? What I will say is that in your life, when you encounter people who are really zealous about whatever they're zealous about, it could be a TV show, it could be their religion, it could be how they see the world, it could be their political beliefs. I would like to encourage you to not challenge them on it. And while I think, it's great to have a good spirited debate and to try and hash out problems, if somebody is truly religiously connected to an idea, to a system of thinking or belief, and they are so insecure about it that they have this like blind rage faith in how it works, nothing you say is going to convince them otherwise. The only way that people leave dogma is they do it themselves. They come to a conclusion, they find a chink in the armor and break away themselves. There is nothing you can do to convert somebody to your way of thinking if they are like fervently faithful to it. And so what I plan to do with this newfound knowledge, which is probably flawed in many ways because we're human and I'm not perfect, but how I plan to use this is that when somebody brings a discussion that has to do with dogmatic thinking, belief, faith in something, whether it is religious or political or whatever, I will listen to what they have to say, but I'm not going to encourage the conversation. I'm not going to encourage a deeper dive. I'm not going to try and question their beliefs, because at the end of the day, if they want to believe their system and they're not interfering with the way I live my life, they're not interfering with the way other people live their lives, if they just hold a belief so fervently and so zealous that, nothing I say would convince them, and it just stems from an insecurity, they're really afraid that the belief that they hold isn't true and that would have huge repercussions for the way they live their lives, why should I break that? Why should I break that? If they want to be in this ignorance is bliss, insecure belief system, I'm not the one to break that. I'm not the one to make an enemy unnecessarily. And that isn't people pleasing. It's not this idea of like, well, you're just going to leave the world in a worse place than you found it. The world is what it is. It will be what it'll be. And people will hold beliefs that are ridiculous until humans don't exist anymore. So I don't see myself as like this crusader who has to constantly be, challenging people's beliefs and, trying to get them to convert and change and repent. That's not my job. My job is to live my life as positively as I can, affect the people I care about, talk to the people and connect with the people who matter to me. And at the end of the day, if somebody comes to a conclusion and realizes that their faith is based on a severe insecurity in themselves or the beliefs that they're holding, I will welcome them with open arms. I'm not going to hold a grudge. I'm not going to be, I told you so. Like, I told you this wasn't real. I have no place for that. My place is positivity, understanding, and connecting with people in a meaningful way. And so understanding that someone's fervently held beliefs, maybe they're holding them because they lost somebody they cared about. They lost a really important person to them. And those beliefs are the only thing that keep them connected to that person. Who am I to go up and start a debate and anger them and make them feel insecure about what they hold? If they're not affecting my life, if they're not, tampering and interfering with the way I believe, then go ahead. And to those who would use their insecure beliefs to take away my right to get married or take my right for reproductive freedom, I will use this against you. If you're planning to, use these things to use your insecure belief to impact other people's lives, that is where you can get militant. That is where you can get aggressive. And you can use this very idea that, their fervent belief in this thing actually stems from insecurity. Like, maybe they're wrong. Maybe you're not right. And that's really scary to people. And so, yeah, that's what's going to happen. I hope this was insightful. Maybe you knew this. I done a bunch of research on this. It's not a new idea. This is not a concept I invented by any means. This has been in philosophy and rhetoric for a long time. Obviously, it was in the Art of Zen and Motorcycle Maintenance. So I recommend you read that. It's so good. I'm like 89% of the way done. It's such a good book. Review coming soon. But there we go. Be careful holding a belief too strongly, because holding it like that, it's like holding a knife. You're just hurting yourself. So there you go. That's my 2 cents. I'd love to know what you think. Obviously, this is a big psychological, philosophical video for today, but thank you for listening. And as always, guys, I will talk to you tomorrow.